So I want to show you a few things about trimming work. It's called pre-press, whenever you're getting something ready to go to press, whatever press that might be. And we're doing a lot of heat press today. So this is a heat press, I think it was for a coin purse, but we're gonna use this as an example for trimming. So you notice when we print something, we've got all these trim marks, and that's to help us kind of center things, to know where to cut, where the bleeds are. But what we need to do right now is at first we just need to kind of cut it in half. So there's always scissors laying around that you can use to do something like that, where if you just need to cut what we call a rough cut, it doesn't have to be pretty, and you can just cut something. But if you can see in the video, I'm not sure, scissors never cut nice. They never cut straight. They never do a perfect cut. Paper cutters can be a little bit better, but I'm gonna show you an even better way too. So when we do rough cuts, that's fine. Sometimes it doesn't matter if it's cut nicely based on where it's going, but we do always wanna make sure we get these trim marks off for things like mugs and water bottles, because we don't want that to press onto our item. So when we use the rotary paper cutters, they work only in kind of one direction. So there's this part that slides, and they always slide from the right to the left. There's a little label on each of them that shows the direction of cut. You always want to go right to left. There's a little plastic guard that goes on the edge, and you want to put your paper underneath. Now, full disclaimer, these get beat up over the years. They don't always cut straight either. So you can't always trust that it's gonna totally line up. What I like to do is I like to use this silver edge that's kind of under here. You'll see it in the screw. I like to visually imagine the blade is gonna slice right along the edge of that and kind of look straight down. This is never something you can do sitting, and look to see where it's kind of lining up there. If you try to use this edge, I promise you it's not gonna be as straight as you want. But again, sometimes it doesn't matter, and you can just line up against the edge of the paper along the edge of this. But I like to use that silver edge. So a lot of times students ask me, where is it gonna cut? On the edge of the steel plate. It's not the edge of the plastic, it's the edge of the steel. So I'm gonna kind of hold it there, and I'm gonna slide from right to left to cut. I usually kind of lift this a little bit as I pull the paper out so that it doesn't scuff my ink on there. You always have to put this back in position here and keep trimming as you need to for your item or your work. The best way to get the cut you want on anything, and when you're doing dye sublimation, which is what this was from, it might not matter as much to get a perfectly straight cut, but maybe you're doing a water bottle and you do want it to be perfectly straight because you have this kind of rectangular background. But if you're trimming artwork, anytime that you need to get a beautiful cut, your best bet is using a cutting mat, a cork-backed ruler, hopefully one that looks a little bit better than this, and an X-Acto. At the cutting stations, there's these little drawers, cabinet things. They have different X-Actos. The number 11 X-Actos are kind of the standard size X-Acto for paper. If you're ever doing board or something thicker, the number 2s are better. The bottom drawer has extra blades. A fresh blade is your best bet to getting a nice cut. These kind of slide out, and then the old one goes in there so we can throw it away without anyone getting hurt. So whenever you need a fresh blade, you can go there. It's pretty obvious when you need a fresh blade because either there's gunk all over the blade or you try to do a cut and it doesn't go smoothly. To do a cut, you always need to be on a mat, use an anti-slip ruler with a cork, and a lot of times I use this grid on the mat to help me where I'm lining things up, but if your paper is not square, that's not gonna work. But try to get something to make sure you really know where you're going, but that's where these trim marks are really important. And that's what they're really for. So what I do is I use my ruler and I line it up. Now I'm right-handed, so I've got my left hand is kind of helping line up that ruler along these lines. So see these two? I'm lining it up right next to it. I get one in place, I hold it, and I rotate the bottom and hold it. And then I'm using a long grip, so I've got my hands spread out, and then I'm gonna take my right ruler, and you don't have to cut through the whole paper. what I'm gonna do is start at the trim, and I'm gonna hold my blade and go slowly with nice even pressure, holding it against the straight edge of the ruler, down through. If you're worried that you didn't cut through, you can do a second time without moving anything. And that's how you get the best cut possible. If you don't cut it all the way off, then you can rotate, you still have your other ones. So that's what those trim marks are really for. So I'm gonna line it up. Again, not going through the whole paper, starting in the trim mark, nice and slow. You don't want that blade to slip, because that's how you get cut. And if you want a good story about that, Miss T will show you her finger. And this is what we design with bleed for, so that you always have that extra background color, background design going outside of what you really want, so that when you trim it, there's no white border, there's no paper coming through. You have your full bleed design. Make sure you always throw away your scraps, and it's very important that these always go back in their storage. So put it straight back in, point the blades always point towards the back of the drawer, because we don't have caps for everything and we don't want anyone to get stabbed. And make sure it's all put away, scraps are in the garbage, and then you're good to move on.